Hello everybody, my name is Andrew Whipple, and today I'll be reviewing Coffee Stain Studios' Sanctum 2. Sanctum 2 is Coffee Stain Studios' follow-up to the original Sanctum, which was essentially a college project. Expanding upon those ambitious ideas, Sanctum 2 is an even greater title that makes some controversial changes, but does end up being all the better for it. In case you're unfamiliar with it, Sanctum is the world's first tower defense first-person shooter. Just like the tower defense titles that you might have played in the past, the object is to build towers to stop enemies from getting to the end. What's different about Sanctum 2, though, is that you can't rely on towers to do all the work for you. You need to get in there, kill yourself some alien scum. If you played the original game, you'll immediately be familiar with how the game feels. However, Coffee Stain has changed some of the core fundamentals to further streamline the experience. For instance, there's two different resources now, blocks and then cash to place and upgrade towers. Since there's a limit on how many blocks you get every round, you'll have to wait to set your maze up. There's also a limit on the amount of towers you can place. Unlike how the original game really was set up, it's a little disappointing, but after you get into the game a little bit more, you start to understand that the game is more concentrated with tighter maps where Coffee Stain can manage the amount of enemies that burst through a bit better. Weapons are also different. Instead of having 3, they've brought the total to just a couple, and without the ability to upgrade them. Again, you might be upset at this at first, but there are tons of perks in the game that can transform your character into something completely different. Speaking of which, Sanctum 2 allows you to choose from 4 different characters, all with unique stats and abilities. My favorite, Sweet Autumn, uses the massive Rex that takes up half of the damn screen. She innately sets things on fire, which makes her amazing against soakers. With the characters, there's also some semblance of a story put in place. It's hard to follow, and it is cryptic at times, but at least it's something to give the game more of a personality. Hell, the first level acts as a single-player mission, but it still teaches you how to play the game. It's a pretty cool idea, and I really would love to see more done with it in the next game, or maybe an expansion. As you play the game, you'll continue to unlock many different perks, weapons, and of course, towers. Since you can play with 3 other people, strategies can become virtually limitless, but enemies do get harder, a la the Diablo 2 effect. And you can welcome in the giant looms, like the Super Heavy, that can destroy your towers with its ridiculous laser blast. And there are hovers that, if you remember from first, you could only shoot them in the back. They now can propel you backwards with telekinetic blasts. And the Queen, if you get too close to her, can disable your towers with it. These enemies, they add a lot of depth to the game, and are probably the sole reason it's challenging. Like with most things, I did run into a few glitches here and there, but one of the most annoying things to me is how towers like the Violator always attack the targets you don't want them to. Even with the perk that tells towers what to attack specifically, which I think should be in the game without the perk, options are too bland, and it doesn't really help. I often opted to just go with lightning, scatter lasers, and rocket towers to avoid that situation, and it worked out fine. Besides that, Coffee Stain has been taking suggestions from the community in how to improve the game. They've done a commendable job, even within the first 2 weeks. While it does have its limitations with towers and such, Sanctum 2 is a beautiful game that'll run you at least 20 hours, and that's if you skip everything and don't go back. With a survival mode and several feats of strength you can enable to make the maps harder, there's plenty of reasons to come back after you've beaten the game. And at 15 freaking bucks, Sanctum 2 is a solid buy. It should definitely be experienced by all tower defense enthusiasts.